shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Okay. Hey.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Brian Roberts Podcast. I'm super excited about our guest today. Hits home for me. I'm a hometown guy. I'm a homer. And we've got Eli Drinkwitz, the head coach of the Missouri Tigers, on with us today. Eli, welcome to the show.
Yeah, excited to be on the Brian Roberts Podcast. You know, every time I go to a basketball game, I see the Roberts family student section, and to be able to be joined on the podcast now, I feel like I've taken a step up in my career.
Well, hey, I'm excited to have you. We're going to cover a myriad of things today, but I'm just excited for you to be here. I know we're catching you kind of at the precipice of your season, right? And super busy, so I appreciate you jumping on with us. Let me ask you this to kick things off. I know NIL seems to be the hot topic right now, and the transfer portal and all the activity that's leading up to it. What are your general thoughts on NIL? What are your general thoughts on the transfer portal? And then how do you navigate that with your team, with your coaching staff, your brand? Tell us about that.
Man, I got a lot of thoughts, but I would say the most safe thoughts that I can put out there on the World Wide Web. Now, I would say, number one, I think NIL is an awesome thing for the student athlete. It's long overdue. We are a $1 billion college football playoff. We generate millions of dollars based off these student athletes playing football. And so for them to get a piece of the revenue, I think it was long overdue and something that is fair for them and should be shared. I think when you've combined that with the transfer portal, you've created a unsustainable business aspect of it that is no fault of anybody's. It's just like unintended consequences of all these rules coming to, or lack of rules coming together at the same time, that we, at some point, in order for this to be a sustainable business, there's going to have to be some regulations on how this stuff works. I think we've put young men and families in a very difficult position by allowing so much freedom, also with so much unlimited money. And I think it's a challenge that we just got to continue to navigate. I think for us at the University of Missouri, it's been a net positive. One, the way that we've embraced NIL as a state and as a university. And it's allowed us to level the playing field with the ability to recruit at a high level and then to be able to retain in-state talent. So, you know, overall, I think for us it's been a positive. I think overall for the national narrative, it is something that there needs to be regulation sooner rather than later, and that's not to inhibit the student athlete from making the most amount of money possible. It's to provide some guardrails to safeguard the market, because anytime there's unlimited markets, there is going to be people with not the best interest of everybody at heart. There's going to be people trying to generate the most money for them possible, and I'm not talking about the player. I'm talking about agents, coaches, bad actors. There's a lot of different things going on that need to be helped.
Now, I'm sure your job has changed tremendously, you know, or evolved from an X's and O's, let's go out, let's strategize, see how we can win ball games, to now really the business acumen you have to have stepping into this role, being a father figure, coaching these young men, and then you throw money into the mix and families. It just complicates things and you know, makes it a greater scale of all the, hey, I got to be a coach, but I got to be also probably a financial advisor, a psychologist, helping these guys navigate it. Not only do they have to be really good at their craft in a highly competitive arena, but they've got all these other things on the exterior that they're trying to juggle now too.
Yeah, I think when I first got into college football, coaches were kind of divided into two categories: elite recruiters or elite X's and O's schematics people. And I tried to, you know, excel in both arenas, but really cut my teeth in being on the forefront X's and O's wise, and constantly trying to expand my knowledge there. You know, got the job at Appalachian State because of my acumen as a play caller. Got the job here because of my acumen, you know, with the quarterback development and play calling that we had done. But after 3 years calling plays here and understanding how much my job had transitioned to other things, and whether that was through COVID or through fundraising and now NIL, it became, you know, pretty obvious to me that the job of the head coach had transitioned so much that I wasn't going to be on the cutting edge of the X's and O's and be a negotiator and a fundraiser. And so I had to, there's a sign right over there that says embrace your role, put the team first. It really, for me, I had to embrace my role as the head coach and put the team first in my responsibilities of what I needed to do as a CEO and empower some other people to do some things that I wasn't going to be able to do at a high level anymore.
I think well said. I think when you look at the landscape of college football or athletics in general, you have to have certain intangibles outside of we play in the Southeastern Conference. We have an ability to progress to the next level. We have an amazing coaching staff. What are the intangibles you feel like when you're going out and attacking recruiting and exposing young men to our program at the University of Missouri? What are the things on the periphery that maybe most people or our listeners aren't aware of or don't know about?
Yeah, I think for us, it's our ability to develop our players. We talk about our first floor in our athletic performance team. I think when you look at, going back to 2023 when Darius Robinson was a first-round draft pick, Cody Schrader, Brady Cook, Chris Abrams-Drain, Tyron Hopper, to Armand Membu, Luther Burden, to this year's Zion Young, our ability to transform players athletically and from a physical standpoint, from a body nutrition standpoint, I think we're as good as anywhere in the country, from taking players and growing and developing them to allowing them to achieve their dream and giving them the biggest stage to play on. I don't think that that's always in the forefront of people's minds. I think sometimes they get caught up in maybe the size of the stadium or the logo on the jersey. For us, I talk about to recruits, I don't believe that a suit makes the man. I believe a man makes the suit. So it's the same thing with the University of Missouri. Like, just because you put the logo on, it's not going to make you into a first-round draft pick. You have to come in here and find a way to have that initiative to grow and develop, and then have the tools that come alongside you. Ryan Russell, our nutritionist, Liz, Zach, our equipment, Mike. I think all of those guys together, combined with the culture that we have in the brotherhood of, iron sharpens iron, always competing every single day to be your best, not striving against, but striving together, I think has created a dynamic where players can achieve their personal best. And you see it through not just the high school kids that we've recruited and developed, but you also see it from the transfers who maybe went and experienced at a different school, and it wasn't the experience they wanted, but when they came here, man, they really flourished and developed into what they could be. You look at Toriano Pride Jr., and
Trotter.
Trotter, Caden Green. And it's nothing against their previous location. It was just they were able to achieve their personal best while they were here.
And I think the proof's in the pudding. I mean, not only those players, but somebody on the periphery of the program, you feel it. Like, it's different. And I know you talk about the brotherhood. What's one thing in your leadership style that you think you've adapted to or grown in to arrive at where you're at today? This is your 7th year, right?
Yeah.
What do you think is one thing you can put your finger on, like, you know what, this is something that I really locked in on that's helped me get to that next proverbial level?
I kind of mentioned it with embrace your role, put the team first. I think it was when I embraced my role as a connector as a head coach instead of maybe an X's and O's general. It was more of be a connector from the locker room to the 4th floor, from the coaches to the players, player to player. And utilizing our strength. We talk about being just us, unity over self, and really rallying behind that, hey, it's just about us mindset, and then defining us as unity over self and the power of the team, the power of the brotherhood. I think that's something that we've really adopted and adapted to. And you got to sacrifice a little bit of yourself to embrace the overall team goals. And I think that's been something that we've really rallied behind, and it doesn't diminish you, it just helps bring you out within the team.
I think one of the toughest things in a leadership position is holding people accountable or holding people capable. How do you and your team, your staff, hold these athletes to what they're capable of, but also, press them in a good way to hit those next levels to achieve greater and greater success within the program?
I think that was probably my biggest area of personal growth as a leader, especially becoming a head coach, because you delve into this world in recruiting where you want to be liked, And so, the challenge with being liked is also being confrontational. And if you're a people person, you want to please, but you also want to hold people accountable and challenge them to be, like you said, capable of their personal best. And I think that for me was a challenge. And I've gotten to the point now where I actually have no problem challenging to be the personal best, because that's part of the trade-off with NIL and contracts is like, hey, once you've signed, there is no more Mr. Nice Guy. We operate within the truth. And I think one of the things that I grew a little bit from was I would be a truth teller before there was trust. And so you have to develop the trust first and relationship first, and then they're more open to receiving the truth. I think that was one area with my freshmen that I learned along the way was they would get on campus, they have a screw up, and the first time they're in my meeting, I'm really challenging them with truth, and it's like, wait, this isn't the same person that recruited me, and so I've learned to develop a little bit more trust before I go into that. But I think how you do it is, we actually had this great quote yesterday in this team meeting was, goals don't help you achieve, daily habits help you achieve.
Truth. And
so the challenge for guys is, are you calling them out on their daily habits? Everybody has a goal. Everybody will say, hey, I want to be an NFL player, or I want to be all conference. Okay, well, do your daily habits reflect that goal, or is that just something you're saying? And that helps us confront poor behavior.
That's probably the hardest thing you have to do. And I know there's a delicate dance between, attracting and recruiting and then developing and pouring into guys, to help them become better at what they do in their craft. What's something about coaching in the Southeastern Conference that people underestimate, specifically about your job? I think one of the biggest pressure cookers, occupationally is your job, man, and what it is that you do. What's one thing specific to our conference that people underestimate about your role?
You can be in the top 25 and not be in the top 15 in your conference. Okay. So like you can be a top 25 recruit, have a top 25 recruiting class, but you might rank 15th out of 16th in the SEC.
Unbelievable.
And I think that's the real challenge. And I think our fan base gets a little bit jaded with that reality, because you can be in the top 20 in the country in NIL spending, but you're in the top 15. You're in the bottom 4 of the conference.
Wow.
And the reality of it is, if you want to be the best, if you want to chase a championship, at some point you got to pay the price of what it takes to be a champion. And that's not just sacrificing and putting in the work. It's also leveling up to that. And I think that was something that was really awesome for me to see with the president, the board, and the athletic director since I've been here. They have understood that challenge every time, because the first challenge for us was to get from a 70-yard indoor to a full field indoor, and the battle of well, this is what we've always had, and it worked pretty good. When we played for the SEC championship in 2012 and 2013, and they didn't have that mindset. They allowed me to say, hey, we have to do this, and it's going to cost money, and then hey, we have to improve the stadium to be an upper echelon team. Like, teams can't go into a fully enclosed stadium at the other 16 SEC schools and then walk into ours and have a grass north end zone. And so I think that's been awesome for our administration to embrace, and our will to win, which is what our athletic director and athletics motto is. But I think it's also just a good reminder for our fans that you can be top 25. That doesn't even mean you're in the top 15 of the conference.
Yeah, well said. I think also, as a fan and somebody that sits back, there's a little bit of bravado or moxie that comes with, the changes that you guys have made.
Yeah.
Our stadium, I cannot wait for it to be finished, but my goodness, it is, it is already electric, loud, but just the aesthetics and finishing it out. And, it feels like, we've arrived a little bit on, the stadium and the aesthetics of it. I can't wait for this season. It's going to be rocking.
It's going to be awesome. And it's a challenge. I saw, I saw on social media the other day, they had the top 15 stadiums in the world right? And 7 of them are SEC football stadiums.
Wow.
Okay, so top 15 stadiums in the world, right? And you're talking about Wembley, and you're talking about some of these great iconic places. But when you're talking about just overall stadiums, you're also talking about Alabama, LSU, Death Valley. You're talking about Tennessee. You're talking about Austin. You're talking about Ben Griffin Hill Stadium. You're talking about Athens. And so it's a real eye opener on far as what Shark Tank you're walking into when you join in this league.
I love that. Let me ask you this, because I know you got media days coming up, which are always entertaining and fun to watch.
They're always something.
What's something people think they know about Eli that they have totally wrong?
I think there's a public perception of what I feel like I need to do and provide for our university and our program that's probably not who I am when I'm out on my own just dorking around, right? Like I'm when I'm out at the restaurants, I'm not the guy that's going to talk to everybody or saying whacked up stuff or crazy stuff. But I also understand at the University of Missouri, we're nobody's punching bag, and we're never going to take a back seat to anybody with our program. And so when we go out to SEC Media Days, we're going to talk about our program. We're going to have opinions. We're going to state who we believe we are. But, if you see me at Harpo's, I'm not the guy that's trying to pick a fight with everybody at the bar.
I think that's fair. And again, as a fan, I think it's what we want. We're proud. Like,
yeah.
We're
Some days we're prouder than others.
Yeah, true statement. Let's talk about that, because I get back to your role, and I get back to what it is that you do. I'm fascinated by all the different elements that go into it. But one thing that's always been on the top of my mind: how do you deal with criticism, especially being a husband, being a father? I would think that's got to be heavy on your heart.
Yeah.
Or do you totally dismiss it and you're like, hey, this is what I chose and this is my path, and people are going to be who they're going to be, right, wrong, or indifferent? How do you deal with that?
Yeah. Do you want the truth, or do you want the social media response?
Give me the truth, man.
The truth is that was something that I've really had to grow in, because I would take personal criticism. Nobody's probably harder on me than me, but then when you take that, when you're hard on yourself, and then when you look for validation one way or the other through social media, and you see that also, you can really get into a dark place. And so you have to have some sort of truth of who you are. You have to have some sort of understanding of all you can do is all you can do. And you have to have some sort of ability to give yourself grace and forgiveness. Like, you're not perfect. Did you do the best you could with the information that you had? There are plenty of mistakes that I've made that I've had to own and understand that, look, in my job, you can't make that mistake. You have to be better than that if you're going to be the head coach at the University of Missouri. But then there's also times where, hey, the best you can do is the best you can do, and not everybody who has an opinion about you has all the information about what you're dealing with. And so I think, that comes with maturity and comes with wisdom, and it comes with a certain level of, hey, man, I'm secure in what I've done and what my position has, developed into.
I think you make a good point, and part of anybody's job, anybody's journey is just the maturity and wisdom and growing and having more experiences to kind of formulate, the wisdom piece of it. I know that's something I struggled with in my career, was the criticism. Everybody wants to be liked.
Yeah.
But, as you progress in your career, that circle gets smaller and smaller, and heavy as the crown, especially when the buck stops with you, right? And you take a tremendous amount of pride in your career, your job, your effort, your people. I always wondered that about, successful, prominent coaches in their role like you. It's like, man, that would be something that would be tough. And I think of my kids, like, I want to shield them from not thinking their dad's, Superman. And when other people out there are keyboard warriors and Monday morning quarterbacks, I imagine that's probably a tough thing to deal with.
I think the good and the bad has been I think my wife has always been a very solid evaluator of both criticisms, one way or the other. Like, she knows when it ain't good, and she's got to say, hey, it ain't good. You got to face this one, or hey, just ignore that one.
Yeah.
And there's been a couple of times where maybe I've said something that got blown up in the media that she was like, hey, you got to own that. That was pretty stupid for you to say, or hey, you're speaking the truth here. You just got to write it out. The challenge for me has been, now that my children are getting older and they're more aware, they have to deal with it at a different level. And it's more about me wishing I could protect them.
Right.
But, I mean, shoot, to whom much is given, much is required, and so there's a lot of benefits with this job, and so you got to deal with a little bit of the tough stuff too. If it was easy, everybody would do it.
That's true, man. Well, and I think too, you mentioned this and referenced it, but if you're coming from a place where you're confident in your core beliefs and you're confident in the product that you're putting out there, a lot of that noise just kind of falls to the side. Is there a creed that you live by? Are there certain values, that you display or that you hold close, whether it's through the program or you personally? Do you mind sharing some of those things as a leader? Like what's the crux and core creed, that Eli Drinkwitz lives by?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously my faith is really important to me, and I think people are your most powerful resource, and you want to invest in your people. I think the core values that when I got this job, right, you have all these different mottos and things, and what I've learned is those mottos only matter if they really matter to the head coach. Like, it's got to be something that you live by every day in order for it to be effective. And so that's why, for me, our core values are what they are. For me, it's about competing every day. It's about having a competitive spirit, and it's not striving against, it's striving together to be the best version of yourself. And it's challenging each other every day to compete. Competition doesn't matter about the scoreboard. It doesn't matter about the crowd size. Being a competitor doesn't matter about the environment or if it's on TV. It's about, hey, when it's time to go, are you willing to compete? And are you willing to push to win? Build trust and respect is something that is vital to any relationship, right? I think respect is something that you give right off the bat, but trust is something that's built through character and competency. And so, for me, in the staff that I hire, it's really important that I see them build trust, and it's important for me that when I'm interviewing them, there's a character, that is as important as the competency that they can show and demonstrate in the X's and O's. Do more than what's expected, I think, is a principle that stands the test of time, whether you're talking about Rebecca in the Bible, which is kind of where this comes from, or you're talking about just the average Joe. I'm not talking about working harder. I'm talking about somebody who's willing to be in there for the long haul. If you want the same thing that everybody else has, do the same thing that they do. If you want something different, you better be willing to do more than they're doing. And that's a principle that I try to challenge my kids on, right? If you want to live that lifestyle, then you better be willing to do what they're doing or do more than what they're doing, right? And then the last one's enjoy the journey. And for me, living the life that I have in the last 16, 17 years of college football, but even before that, I've had to make decisions that other people didn't agree with, right? And so it came very real to me that life is not about a destination, it's about the journey, and while we're on the journey together, making it the most impactful we can, but understanding that my journey is not somebody else's journey. And so when players come in and it's their time for their journey to go to the NFL, or if it's their time for their journey to transfer, or coaches to go and make their journey happen, man, find joy in that. Find joy in the day-to-day practices, and not just that they're doing what you want them to do. And I think I had a few bosses that they wanted to have joy in the destination as long as my destination didn't change. But once I needed my destination to change, we couldn't have a relationship anymore. And I felt like that was a little bit selfish, and so I never wanted to be that guy. And it's probably cost me. I think there's been opportunities for me to potentially manipulate people to stay, and I've never chosen to do that. I've always felt like that's not the best way, because I never wanted that to happen to me. And so I think, and that was something I learned as a seventh grade coach. I was a head seventh grade coach and had an opportunity to take a high school job, and I felt like several people were trying to manipulate me to stay
For their gain.
for their gain, not what was best for me. And so it was something that at a young age, I was like, I'm not going to be that dude.
I think, one, that's super admirable and honorable. And I think in a profession where those two things may be sparse,
Oh, yeah.
that's a differentiator for you as a leader. And hopefully that's the reason why two things happen. People are drawn to you as a leader and want to be a part of this amazing program. And two, why they continue to stay. I heard a quote recently that it resonated with me so much so I put it on my calendar, but it says, what a privilege it is to be overwhelmed by a life you once prayed for. Mm-hmm. And I think as leaders, we're constantly pushing and we want to do better and better and better and want the perfect season, want to go to the championship, want to go to the playoffs. But oftentimes I think it's also healthy to be like, wow, look at where we're at right now in a 17-year journey from a 7th grade head coach to head coach in the SEC with the University of Missouri. Man, what an opportunity, what a privilege. But I think that advice that you just gave is monumental. I think if I'm listening, man, I'm taking some notes on that and really carrying that.
I've heard something very similar to that quote, and I think it's really good. Similar. What a blessing it is to be exhausted by the opportunity that you chose. And for me, it goes back to having an attitude of gratitude, even in the hardest days. Like even when you're facing a crap ton of criticism, or even when you're exhausted to the point of like, I just don't know if I can keep handling another phone call about this issue or this person having an opportunity to leave or this, and you just realize, man, you're really blessed, right? Like, so I know you're exhausted, but if you'll find the attitude of gratitude, it'll give you a little bit more joy, and as you face all those challenges. And I think one of the burdens of leadership for me has been, especially in dealing with such a large organization, is that you have to have a personal relationship with everybody, and they're going to bring you their problems, but you still have to have enough insulation to continue to keep the organization moving forward. And so while so-and-so may be dealing with a death in the family, you have to be 100% present in helping that person deal with those emotions of that and be there for them and check on them, while also getting up in front of the team and say, hey, we're moving forward. Or, we had a player injured in spring practice and is having surgery, and going and showing up and being there for that person, and, hey, we're going to get you recovered and we're going to help you, while also getting up in front of the team and saying, hey, it's somebody else's opportunity. And that's tough. That is really tough, but it's necessary for everybody involved, and you got to be able to, as a leader, be able to be fully present and engaged in both of those conversations.
Well, it demonstrates exceptional character. And also, again, I keep going back to kind of those core beliefs. If people know what you stand for, they realize that's part of the journey, and they realize as we're going to collectively move this team forward, putting the team in front of themselves. Yeah. It's tough, though. I can imagine that. Let me do this. I want to fire some rapid questions at you here as we get to the end.
Not a quick thinker.
Toughest stadium to play in?
Tennessee.
Favorite game day meal?
Peanut butter and jelly, Lay's potato chips, Diet Mountain Dew.
One player who has surprised you the most in your entire career?
Oof. It would be a tie between Brady Cook and Cody Schrader, probably.
Great choices. Great dudes. If you weren't coaching, what would you be doing?
I would like to say I'd be a lawyer, but I'd probably be a car salesman with rustydrewing.com.
Best advice you've ever received?
Ever? Wow. Probably Gus Malzahn, use your influence in a positive way and the Lord will reward you. I think it's just a constant reminder that this platform and stage that we have is really not about our own self-gain or our own promotion. It's about using it in a positive way and giving back and yeah.
That's great advice. One last question. As you look at our program, you look at Mizzou Football, what's next for this program?
Well, we got to break through. I mean, that for me is the challenge of breaking through. And we've been close in a lot of different aspects, whether we've been this close to making the playoffs, we've been this close to beating number one teams, we've been this close to beating those named or branded schools. Like, we got to break through. I think the challenge in that is not to get discouraged or not let the near misses add up on you to create more pressure. You just got to keep swinging. It's the story of the rock cutter. He keeps swinging, and when he breaks the rock on the 101st blow, he knows it wasn't the 101st blow that broke it. It was all the continued punches or swings before that add up over time. And so for us, it's about us recreating our process, looking on the areas that we made mistakes and saying, how do we fix them so that we can put ourselves back in those battles. For the last 3 years, we've been in those battles. And if you keep putting yourself in there a number of times, you learn from your previous mistakes, you'll break through and not to get frustrated in it. So for me, I think it's about finding ways to break through. I think also you got to think like a farmer. For us last year, we were right there. We dealt with injuries, whether it was week one, and those are not excuses. It's just the realities of it. Okay, so you have to figure out, okay, how do we make a successful season out of some tough times, but not get discouraged? And for me as a leader, it's easy for me to do that. It's about the ability of the entire fan base and all that to not get discouraged and see that we're close, and we'll break through.
Well, I appreciate you coming on today. Amazing words of wisdom. A lot of things I took personally from this conversation, but we couldn't be more excited for our program. Couldn't be more excited to have you at the helm. Thanks for all that you do for us, and thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, man, I appreciated it. Just one question: are we going to play golf again at the St. Louis Quarterback Club? Am I going to be on your team? I know you have to pay a lot of money to do that, and I don't know if you're going to bid for me because I'm such a poor golfer or not.
Good question. I would say the level of fun that we had relative to the actual quality of golf probably outweighed it, but I think that's probably in the cards.
Yeah. Are you going to bring me some of those Donk Kirkland golf balls again, or are you going to bring some real Pro V1s?
Time will tell. We'll see. We'll see how the performance is on the course, and that'll probably determine what level of golf balls we get.
If you want me to be a PGA golfer, I'm going to need some real golf balls. I can't be hitting Kirklands out there.
Maybe I should get you golf lessons instead of the golf balls first.
No, I don't need lessons. I need better product.
Okay, noted. All right, noted. We'll make it happen.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you, man.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you being on.
MIZ.
ZOU. Thank you for watching the Brian Roberts podcast. If you enjoyed this conversation, please be sure to follow the podcast for more just like it.